This episode of Speak Now, Hold Your Peace is brought to you in part by Green Sister Botanicals, plant-based hair and body care. Visit greensister.com for your hair and body care needs.
She's good. She's good.
Anytime there's a shooting, people are saying, we need more gun control law.
That's just human nature.
Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace, a live broadcast with real conversations about community social issues, politics, business, health, self-care, and more. We broadcast live on the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace Facebook group and the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace YouTube channel. And now, here's your host, Say What I Feel, Dre.
Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace. I'm Say What I Feel, Dre, and today I got a good show for you. I got a good show for these children, and I hope that some of the parents were able to take advantage of this opportunity and watch this live, so you can have conversations, to initiate conversations after this particular show. So we want you to watch this with your kids. This show is for helping the community, and I hope this helps. Today, we're going to be talking about reducing the chances of underage drinking. I have a special guest with me. I'm going to let him introduce himself because, it sounds so good when he introduces himself. So I got with you, Mr. Rodney Poole. Mr. Rodney Poole, how you doing, brother?
All right, Dre, doing well, man.
Good.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to participate in what you're doing. This is amazing already, but I know it's only going to get better from here, man. I'm so blessed. I really believe, man, you're doing big things and bringing information to the community. And I tell you, man, I'm just so appreciative. My name is Rodney Poole, and I'm with the North Carolina Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. I'm with the Education Outreach Division, and I'm a program coordinator. This is my 12th year working in the prevention field, traveling the world, talking to kids about alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. And I really believe we can reduce underage drinking, underage drug use, but we have to have conversations with our kids. First of all, parents, you have to educate yourselves to know what you're talking about first. Because we find a lot of times young people, they know more about parents, know more about alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs than parents do. So a lot of things can kind of go under the radar. You don't even realize what's happening, what might be in your own house. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. That was a good point. Look, you're making good points already, y'all. All right. So, we hear too often, Rodney, accidents that could have been avoided, deaths that could have been avoided just due to underage drinking. And I ask myself all the time, I ask my question, what is it about teenage drinking, underage drinking? What is it that why kids like it so much? Or why is it something that they're so attracted to? And I honestly, I came up with a few answers, but, I'm just like, no, I don't know. So, in your experience, what do you think it is? What do you think is drawing these teens to like it so much? I mean, there's so many different things, but if you could just name maybe one or two of them, that'd be great.
Man, listen, let's start out with who we're dealing with first of all. Now, this is nothing against young people, okay? But the teenager is during the teenage lifespan, if you will, the age of say 12 to about 22. That is the one time in their entire lives that they are most concerned about what they think other people think about them. Think about that. When you were a teenager, you really didn't know who you were. You're trying to figure it out. And how did you figure it out? You looked around and saw what was going on around you. You looked at social media. You looked at entertainment. You looked at movies. You looked at who was hot and who was not. And you'll find a lot of young people dressing the way their favorite artist does, or getting involved in certain things that their favorite entertainer might be involved in. Social media this is the same generation that ate Tide Pods.
Right.
Wrap your brain around that, son. Wrap your brain around that. This is the same group of young people that ate Tide Pods as a
Right.
challenge for likes.
Wow.
So when you add that that level of brain development, because the teenage brain is still developing. It develops from the back to the front. Toward the back, the limbic system is a part of the brain that's responsible for pleasure. It's responsible for fun. It's responsible for emotion. That's why you find very frequently a lot of young people are driven by their emotions, opposed to consequential thinking. If I do this, there's a good chance that this may happen. It's all about, where's the party? Let's have fun. YOLO, right? You only
Yeah.
live for once. That's
Yep.
a young person's mindset. A lot of times, if it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it. That's why it's hard to get a young person to turn the video game off and do homework. Why? Because I know homework sucks, but video games, I'm feeling this is awesome. I'm in the moment. It's exciting. There's dopamine. There's a flow of dopamine every time I get close to reaching my objective on the video game. Add alcohol or intoxicant to that situation, and you'll find that young people are literally driven toward it. Let's add in not being able to deal with stress, difficulty in dealing with difficult situations, not really knowing who you are, not really having a strong sense of self-identity to be able to say, nah, I'm good. That's not who I am. I don't get on like that. No, thank you. I'm cool. I appreciate it. I'm just gonna sip on my water here, but y'all go ahead and do what you do. Not being able to do that, and you'll find very frequently young people literally learn how to change how they feel through alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. I know you said you offered one or
Oh
two
yeah, that's
points,
fine.
but
That's fine. No, ain't no
it's an
problem.
in-depth response. Yeah, it's an in-depth response. It really
Right.
is. As a big part of it is lack of information. Young people just don't really know what the risks are. The whole idea that, well, it's not going to happen to me. That person that got addicted or overdosed, that's not going to happen to me. I've heard kids say, well, as long as you just do a little bit, as long as you know your limits. How do you know your limits? How do you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. In terms of maturity, girls, it's a proven fact that females mature faster than males. So do you think, with that said, do you think, and considering everything, do you think with that, do you think males have a higher risk of teenage drinking?
That's a great question, Dre. Statistically, and I'm a big fan of looking at the statistics. I can give you my opinion all day long, but you'll find that young ladies, start drinking earlier, but end up quitting earlier.
Wow,
Getting
that's
into treatment,
interesting.
getting some support. Young men might start a little later, but very frequently need some help and may not go get it. How many of us have heard the term, you're not a man unless you can hold your liquor?
Right,
That whole
right.
outdated concept, which means nothing. All that means is your body's very efficient at metabolizing alcohol. It doesn't mean you're a man
Right.
or masculine just because
Right.
you can drink a lot. There are a lot of young ladies that can drink quite a bit, and you won't even know why, because their body's very efficient at metabolizing alcohol.
Right.
So you'll find it's very close. It's very
Mhm.
close when numbers of how many young people are male or female are actually drinking. But you'll find a lot of time with guys, there's this idea that I gotta be the alpha male. I gotta show out. I gotta show people, especially if they don't have a strong self identity. It's like,
Right.
well,
Right.
how can I build my identity? I'm known as that crazy dude. I do whatever.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know,
And
I'll jump off the roof. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll drink. I'll down the whole bottle of vodka,
right.
which is
And
very dangerous. Yeah.
and it's funny, it's crazy because it's an interesting fact that you just said that like females start earlier. Is that what you said? They start earlier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think and when we say that, we got to think they start earlier, but it's not so. It's like when they start, we know that it's not good. But I think the key thing is, how long does it take them to realize that they need to stop? And I think that's why, like you said, females will probably stop earlier because they're more mature and they feel like, they don't need to do that, or they shouldn't be doing that. So that's a good point.
Insane.
And it's funny
Yeah.
that with the guys that think they have to be an alpha male. I don't drink.
Mhm.
I've never drank.
Mhm.
I don't know what
Mhm.
alcohol, like wine and all that stuff. I don't know what it tastes like. I never had it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I grew up with some dudes that, I mean, around me, they always was drinking around me. I felt no
Mhm.
peer pressure at all because I know who I am, and I knew who I was back then. And I was known as the crazy one, the one that'll fight and the one that you don't want to play with and all that stuff. And, you know, even when I got married, people, even the parents in the neighborhood
Yeah.
was like, "You married him?
Yeah.
Like him? He
Wow.
got married? You went to school? You went to school? College?"
Yeah, man.
And so I was
Yeah.
like one of those type of dudes, man. And
Right,
peer
right,
pressure
right.
never bothered me, man. Never bothered me. And it's just,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so it is what it is,
But you
man.
was one
But
of the, you was one of Dre, you was one of them cool brothers on campus. You was mad cool. You was always fly at the Timbs. You was always, you know what I'm saying? He's always
Right.
sharp. Yeah.
Yeah. How significant is peer pressure? How does peer pressure? How much does peer pressure play into certain underage drinking?
Yeah. It's huge, Dre. But the thing is, for those kids, like I mentioned, that may not have a strong self-identity, it's big. But for those like yourself who do, it's like, I'm good. You
Right.
know, it's
Right.
like you giving it the Heisman. You know, I'm not moving in that direction. So I don't get on like that. But
Mm-hmm.
for that kid that especially if they don't have that parental influence or that caregiver influence where they have some boundaries in place. Uh, Young people are looking for boundaries. You know, we all know, I bet a number of us could talk about that kid or that group of kids whose parents let them do whatever they wanted to do
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
and how they
Wow.
turned out. And
Yeah.
how they turned out compared to on the other extreme, that group of kids who parents didn't let them do
Yep.
anything, which is another extreme actually. And we recommend boundaries, but also have some leeway in there. You know,
Yeah.
choose your battles. You don't have to beat a kid up about every little thing they do, or every little thing they, instead of teaching them what to think, teach them how to think.
Right.
Teach them how
Right.
to make decisions for themselves. I highly recommend role playing with your son or daughter.
Mm-hmm.
What peer pressure may look like, because peer pressure can be ugly, but it can be subtle too.
Right.
It can be very subtle.
Right.
Nobody actually coming up to you and say, "Come on, man, you're gonna drink this, or else we're gonna beat you down, or we're gonna put these hands on you if you don't hit this."
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as simple as you with a group of people and somebody pass you the weed. You
Right.
got a decision to make.
Right.
You have a decision to
Wow.
make, and that's why I suggest that parents have some conversations with their young person about what that might look like. Be that peer pressurer. Be
Right.
that peer pressure, or in a setting at home, and say, okay, because kids practice everything. They practice for the game, they practice for the test, they practice for the recital, they practice everything, but they seldom practice social situations, and then they find themselves in a social situation with no practice
Right.
and no experience.
Right. Yeah. That's big.
So be that peer pressure, practice that, so that when they get out in that situation, they can say, "Oh, I've done this before. You know what? Nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good."
Right. Right. Yep.
I'll be honest, Dre. For me personally, when I went to Shaw, I was actually in long term recovery. I didn't tell anybody that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you can tell everybody. I was in long term recovery. I've been clean for five. Well, I shouldn't say long term, but 5 years. I've been no drinking, no drugs. I
Wow.
couldn't do it. I damn near killed myself out there after high school. I'll tell y'all my story if you really want to know. Invite me in, book me, and I'll share my story with. Yeah, I'll give you the
Yeah.
whole A to Z.
Okay.
But when somebody presented me with some weed or whatever, and that happened, I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And that was pretty much the end of it. When
Wow.
the opportunity presented itself to drink, I'm like, "Nah, I'm good."
Hmm.
And that was the end of it. I didn't, I had been there, I'd done that, and I wasn't with it. It wasn't for me, and I knew that. But that, once again, that self identity. I know who I am. I know what I'm okay with. I know what I'm not okay with. And I
Right.
found myself kind of distancing myself from those situations that I would even have to explain.
Right.
I went to
Right.
parties, but it was like parties where there might have been a bar over there, but I'm there to, dance and have a good time and
Mm-hmm. Right.
socialize,
Right.
get my groove on.
Let me ask you this, Rodney. Do you think drinking is cultural? Meaning, do you think the environment in which the underage child lives in plays a part of it?
Could go either way, Dre. Could go either way.
Okay.
Um, I did a presentation in Texas. Now I've been all over the world: Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Singapore, Thailand, Nairobi,
Hmm.
and Hanoi, Vietnam. It's in schools all over the U.S. Every week, I'm in different schools for the last 10 years. And I was at a school in Texas, and I finished the presentation. And this young lady comes to me after class, senior, and she says, "Mr. Poole, thank you so much for coming. Really got a lot out of this. I really learned a lot." And then she kind of like started tearing up, like she's about to start crying. And I said, "What's wrong? You okay?" She said, "I will never touch alcohol." She
Hmm.
said, "Both of my parents are alcoholics. I leave for school in the morning. My mom's drinking already. I get home in the afternoon. My dad's usually passed out. They've been drinking all day." Now, for her, that setting, that type of drinking at home was a deterrent. For others, that same type of drinking, it's kind of like teaching them how to do it in a
Right.
dangerous way.
Wow.
Yeah. So it can really go either way, man. It really depends. You know, locking your alcohol up, I think, is beneficial, especially if you have teenagers, because it may not be your kid that gets into the liquor cabinet. It may be your friend's kid. I'm sorry, your kid's friend,
Right.
or
Right.
your kid's friend's friend, who's at the house playing video games with them.
Right.
My
Right.
first drink was at my friend's house. It wasn't at my. I didn't touch my dad's liquor cabinet. My first drink was at my friend's house.
Hmm.
So, but locking up the liquor and not explaining why it's locked up, you want to have levels of prevention. Locking the liquor up and not having some rules in place about underage drinking, having some conversations prior. That's only the kids. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. If they
Right.
want to do it, even if you talk to them until you're blue in the face, but you want to keep talking to them
Right.
because they need to hear it from you. They need to know what the rules are. We have to have rules in place. That's just the bottom line. If I start running red lights, I might get away with it a couple times, but that one time that I don't could be deadly.
Right. Right. What are the signs parents should look for? When kids start uh drinking and you know, I know the behavior patterns may be a little different, but what are some of the signs
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they should look for?
Well, the crazy thing, it really kind of looks like natural teenage behavior, an increased level need for privacy, kind of secretiveness, maybe not wanting to talk to you a whole lot. But some of these are very specific signs. Grades can go either way. A kid can start drinking and still get A's if they're just that academically inclined, but you'll frequently see a change in performance, whether it's academic, athletic, in their extracurriculars. You'll find they'll start quitting things. You'll find that because alcohol or other drugs takes a precedent, that relationship with alcohol or other drugs starts to take precedent over everything.
Hmm.
Things they used to love to do, hanging out with a pet, hanging out with their little brother and sister. Um, you'll find appearance may change, overall effect. That's why it's so important to pay attention to that on a daily basis. Check in
Mm.
on a daily basis. So how things going? You okay today? What's going on with you? I'm not trying to run your life. I just want to, just want to hear what's going on with you because I care about you and I'm interested. Um, you may notice a change in social media behavior if so some parents monitor their young person's social media behavior. Some professionals suggest that you monitor their social media behavior, especially if it's on a phone that you're paying for. Um, Pay attention to are they lying to you? That's a big one. That's a huge one because what happens is the lies start to become more frequent because they're hiding something. There's something going on that they really don't feel comfortable talking about. Um, Missing alcohol.
Hmm.
If you smoke weed in your house, there's a really good chance your young person's going to smoke weed. If you smoke cigarettes, there's a really good chance you may be missing a cigarette or two every once in a while.
Right.
And they may be doing it on the low. Um, I mean, I highly recommend that parents educate themselves.
Right.
Get online. There are so many resources online. Drugabuse.gov. There's the National Institute of Drug Abuse website, NIDA. And I can send you some resources. Go to our website, Talk It Out NC. There are a number of, even though we're in North Carolina and some of your listeners may be from other places, we have links from other websites, national websites, national research-based websites.
Okay.
So the main thing is paying attention to your kid. You got to pay attention. Otherwise, you'll miss those signs. Now, listen, a marijuana logo, a marijuana leaf on a book bag, or if they're drawing pictures of marijuana leaves, that's a clear red flag.
Right.
That's
right.
a clear, they smell like weed. They
Yeah.
smell like
yeah.
cigarettes. You smell alcohol on their breath. That's a clear red flag. Don't just sweep it on the table and say, well, they're just going through a phase. Yeah, they may be going through a phase, and it may be a phase they need some help with.
Right.
You may need to
right.
do a professional evaluation to find out if they are, in fact, on that spectrum of substance, having a substance use disorder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you this, and I honestly think, and I hope there's college students, even, and I know we're talking about underage drinking, but when these underage kids get older and they go to college, it can affect them. Even though you've been drinking, you started drinking at an early age, but couldn't it affect them, like their academics in college, sports, because if they're drinking when they come into college, more than likely they're probably going to drink. And I don't know if it's a fair assumption to say that some people will, who play sports will drink with their peers. Do you think that's something that's detrimental to the academics, like underage drinking? You think it's detrimental to the academics and like scholarships for sports and stuff like that?
Yeah. Man, Dre, you went to college. How stressful was college?
Man, look, man, it was very stressful, man.
You think about it, man. The professors ain't play.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And college is a stressful environment. And a lot of campuses now the college is a whole different topic that I love to talk about, because I talk with a lot of seniors who are heading into college, and I've been to college and I made it through 4 years of college with no drinking and no drug use, and joined a fraternity. So this whole idea about all college kids drink or smoke weed or get high is just not true. Actually, the majority actually don't. What happens is there's a minority of college students that are drinking and making a lot of noise about it. So it looks like all college kids are drinking. Think about it. Even Jay, you're in a fraternity, right? You're in a frat, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Think about it. Did everyone in your fraternity drink and get high?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But the perception is, due to social media, due to news stories, that we only hear about the bad stuff about fraternities. We don't hear about penny drive, coat drive, shoe
exactly.
drive.
That's right.
Fundraising, big brother, little brother program. We don't hear about any of that. All the news cameras show up when somebody dies.
Yep.
From an overdose.
Yep.
That's when they show up.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Now, and I was about to say,
looks like what?
I was about to say, even in the movies, you're right. Social media in the movies it's drink, like fraternities. When I see fraternities in the movies, it's just drinking. It's just drinking.
That's it.
It's all about the drink. And not to be funny or anything like that, turn this to a black and white issue. Yeah. But it's a lot of on TV anyway, it's a lot of white fraternities. It's all about the drinking, like on TV. Now I don't know if from what I've seen in person, I've seen that too. So I'm not going to say it's I'm not guessing here. This is what I see. I'm not saying I'm right and I'm 100% right, but I see is more white fraternities. It's all about the drinking. And and it's just it's just the differences. When they after college, they're still a member of the fraternity, but they don't understand, with African American fraternities after college, that's when the work starts. Like when you're in a chapter, you got your meetings, you got to do this and do that, and that's when the work starts. So it's different. It's a difference. But in terms of the drinking, I see it on TV. It's just like it's not good, man.
we find statistically it's those students that are drinking in high school that are circumventing the rules, that are on the low, they're sneaking it, they're getting their drink on. Those are the ones that go to college very frequently. And think about how much supervision is actually at college. How many times are people going to tell you, no, I don't think that's a good idea to go to that party on Saturday when you went to the party on Friday and you went to a mixer on Wednesday and you went to a mixer on Monday. No one's going to tell you you can't go. So
Right.
we find it's those kids who are circumventing the rules to get their drink on in high school that are struggling in college,
Mm.
that are usually drinking the most. And there's a very clear correlation between number of drinks per week and grades. Those that are drinking the most are usually getting the worst grades. Those that are drinking the least are usually getting the best grades in college. Think about all that it took to get through college, those 4 years, to develop emotionally, to develop not only mentally but socially, to learn social skills. And you add alcohol to that, it's like, are you really learning how to deal with that awkwardness of speaking to someone, a love interest? Are you really learn if you had a couple drinks in you, are you sending a representative, or are you really sending yourself?
Right. Right.
Is this really who you really are?
Right.
In dealing with stressful situations, it's like one night of drinking could last you for three, it might be 3 days before you're back to 100%. Especially if you're drinking at a level which we find that a number of college kids drink. There's a big push on college campuses now to highlight what's called it's a social norm. They're really trying to change the perception about what happens at college. The perception is that, well, everyone drinks, so kids come into college thinking that everyone drinks when it's just
Mm-hmm.
not true. So there's a push now where they call them social norm campaigns, where they do a survey on their college campus and they find out how many kids are actually drinking and
Mm-hmm.
what their drinking behavior is like, and they actually broadcast those healthy numbers all over campus, so that it may say, I know there's one, Georgetown did one, and it said most Hoyas drink 1 to 3 drinks when they go out and party. And so what happens is people start to see that, and if they're drinking 10 drinks, if they're trying to do 10 shots, they realize, what, in the back of their mind,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of on the outside. I'm kind of not everyone's drinking like this.
Right. Right.
And they start to see those numbers decline. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
Let me tell you. Let me ask you this. And before I ask, I'm going to just share something with you. Um,
Yeah.
I used to teach. Um,
Okay.
so I used to teach, and I would send homework home.
Mhm.
They wouldn't do it. I'd contact parents, and I hear the same stuff. Different. Same stuff about. And I realized this is the true stuff. This is true because I've experienced it.
Mhm.
When my kids were young, they'll come home with sometimes, not all the time. They'll come home,
Mhm.
don't know how to do a particular problem. I explain it to them,
Mhm.
and they'll be like, "No, that's not it.
Mhm.
You're doing it wrong,
Mhm.
Daddy, or you're doing it wrong." But if someone else came in and told them the same thing,
Mm.
oh, okay. So it was a difference. Coming from me,
Mhm.
it was different.
Isn't that
Like the
something?
message was
Isn't that
perceived
something?
different from me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
with that said, do
Yeah.
you think I read an article where advocates for preventing teenage underage drinking, um,
Mhm.
a few of them were like they took a survey. A few of them said it's better to educate the parent
Mhm.
and have the
Mhm.
parent educate the child for effective
Mhm.
results. Whereas the other
Mhm.
advocates, a few other ones said
Mhm.
no, it's better that the
Mhm.
advocate
Mhm.
educates the child because
Yeah.
it's coming from a different person and they'll probably take heed
Mhm.
to it more. What do you think? What's
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
opinion on that? What do you think? You
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
what side does that
Yeah.
lean on more, in
Yeah.
your
That's a
opinion?
great question. That's a great question, Dre. And I love that. I'm thinking about all the number of schools that I've gone to. And I tell you, man, it does my heart good when I go back to schools year after year, and a parent will come up to me. Like I said, they may have had 3 or 4 kids at that school, and I taught the kid who is now a senior, and now I'm teaching the kid who is now a freshman. and the parents you frequently come back because a lot of times schools would have me come in and work with the students for 3 or 4 days, and I'll do a couple parent meetings where it's just parents.
Mhm.
And so a parent will come up to me afterwards. It's happened. I can't tell you how many times it's happened where they'll say, Mr. Poole, you know what? My kids love you so much. Um, my son still talks about you. I heard him talking to his little brother about Mr. Poole and my story. Um, you know, the parents can educate the kids, but I think it's crucial that if you're going to do prevention right, you have to educate both
Mhm.
so that parents know what to look for. Parents know how to have effective conversations. When the number of effective conversations increase, actual use has been shown to decrease. But if no one's talking about it and the kids getting information from Snoop in them, and shot,
Shot,
what
shot,
message is that
shot.
sending? Yeah.
Right,
Oh
right.
my goodness. That's where they're getting their information from.
Yeah,
When I walk
yeah.
in the club, all eyes on me. I'm with the Party Rock crew. All drinks are free. We like Ciroc. We love Cerrone. We came to Party Rock. Everybody, it's on. Shots, shots,
Okay,
shots,
okay.
shots, 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 shots.
Everybody.
That's the song. Yeah. Hot tune, though, honestly.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. It's in the head, man. If it gets in my head and
But
I
it
don't drink, just
sticks.
imagine for somebody who drinks. Shot,
It
shot.
sticks.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not having a party unless you getting toe down, slam, pissy drunk, which is just not true. There are major risks with that, especially for a teenager.
Right.
Like I mentioned, the teenage brain is still developing. It develops from the back to the front. That impulse control part, the prefrontal cortex, is one of the last parts of the brain to complete development. So it's difficult for a young person to consistently say, you know what, I'm good.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially when shots is on and there's a bunch of jumping and down, the party is hot and sweaty, and that cute person of the opposite sex walks up and says, here, I got you a beer.
Wow. Let me
You
ask
know.
you this. I
So
gotta. Okay,
yeah,
go
go ahead.
ahead. Finish your point. I'm sorry.
So yeah, education, it's got to take place, both parents and teenagers. The education is different though. I'll be honest with you, personally, when I present to teens, I keep it real. I don't cuss and I don't get into gory details about my story, but I do share with them. There's a really good chance I may have thrown away an opportunity to play Division I football
Hmm. Wow.
because I couldn't remember the plays as a
Yeah.
high school student.
Right, and that does mess. The drinking does mess with your memory a little bit too. So.
Well, I was smoking weed. And there was this whole idea about marijuana being harmless,
And the
not
weed.
for the
Wow.
developing brain.
Right.
Not for the developing brain. The developing brain, marijuana has been shown to do major damage, possibly long-term and irreparable to the
Oh
developing
yeah.
brain.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
The memory portion. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
What's the significance of getting kids into sports? And I ask this question because hopefully, if any parents are watching, I think sports plays a significant role. But have you found any research, or what do you think about kids playing sports at a young age? Because sometimes they're into sports. It keeps them out of trouble, keeps them doing something. And they're not with their friends, which because if you don't, I found if you don't have nothing to do, you're gonna have something to do, and it's not gonna be great. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Huge.
yeah,
Keep them busy. Keep them involved, but have them busy doing things that they want to do.
right.
Don't try to live your failed football dreams through your son, who really is. He wants to be a designer. He wants to do music. He doesn't want to play football. You got
Right.
him out there getting hurt, getting banged up, trying to and hollering, screaming at him. You know what I'm saying? And he hates it.
He playing
Find
baseball.
out.
He playing baseball out in right field, and he don't want to play. He's out there eating snacks that he snuck in his pocket in his glove.
You're out there looking at butterflies and sitting down. Yeah, you can care less about baseball. Find out what they're interested in and get them involved in that.
Right.
If they're interested in basket weaving, go and support them at the basket weaving tournament.
Right.
There was a study done, and they called it the rat study. Look it up online. They called it the rat study, where they had rats in a cage with nothing to do. And they put a drug in there. They put two water sources, a water that was plain water, and they put water with cocaine in it. The rats used the cocaine water until they died, literally every time. But they looked at the study and said, well, humans aren't really like that. Humans have other things to do. So they made the cages like 10 times bigger, and they put a bunch of stuff in the cages with, like, balls and running areas and play areas and soft sleeping areas and other rats, right, in the cage. And the rats never and they put the two water sources. The rats never touched the cocaine water ever.
Wow.
Why? They were busy doing stuff. They were busy doing stuff. Get
That's
them
interesting.
involved in things. Yeah, it's huge. Get them involved in things that they like doing, that they're interested in, and support them. If they want to, if your son wants to be a fashion designer, yeah, let him go ahead and do that. Buy him the material. Take him to the fashion shows. If not only does that say how much you care about your child, but also you never know where that hobby, that passion may take him.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
You got young
there
kids
are a
who
lot of male
you got young kids
huge
who do YouTube channels when they were 7 and now they're like 18 making billions, like not billions, but a lot of
blowing up,
dollars. A lot of
blowing
dollars.
up.
Yeah.
The video game is not going away, ladies and gentlemen. There are video game testers who get paid. There are, that kid. I'll never forget, man. I'm gonna share this story, and I'll never forget. My 8th grade teacher, Miss Kathy. I'll never forget her, Miss Kathy. If you're listening, um, she asked me, Rodney, what do you want to do when you get older? Now, in 8th grade, we're still trying to figure it out. I don't really know, but I know I loved music. I would listen to the radio every single morning, every single night, from one end of this dial to the other. Never commercials. Song go off, I'd find something else. Song go off, I'd find something else. Country music, classical, R&B, alternative, hip hop, jazz, whatever. I said, well, I had to think of something. I had to think of something real quick. I said, I want to be a DJ.
Hmm.
And she looked at me with this look. Now, Miss Kathy was beautiful. I'm sorry, Miss Kathy was fine. Okay, Miss Kathy was beautiful. She was so pretty. My first, yeah. And she looked at me and she said, DJs don't make no money.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Try to hire DJ Clue. Go try to hire any wedding DJ these days, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not, and not even a big name DJ. Come on, man.
Right,
If that's
right.
your measuring stick is how much money you're going to make, I mean, let that be your thing. But don't discourage a young person when they share with you what their dreams might be.
Right, because
You know,
she could crush those things. Like if somebody that's not strong-willed, she could have crushed their dreams
yeah,
right then and there.
I was crushed. I said, well, maybe I don't want to be a DJ.
Yeah.
What's his name? Tom Joyner started out playing records
Mm-hmm.
and ended up, probably one of the most wealthy radio producers in history. Ricky Smiley's. I don't know if he plays records or not, but there's so many other examples we can use
Right.
for people that started out maybe not making a lot of money, maybe they're doing something for the passion of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I picked up some boards. Dre, you spin every once in a while, don't you? Yeah, I know you
Yeah, I
do.
do a little spinning here and there. You know,
Yeah, yeah, I see it.
I'm at a
Oh,
local.
yeah.
I'm at a local store. You know, just doing my thing. You know, COVID-19 stopped me for a minute, but
That's what's up.
I'm gonna
That's what's
bounce
up.
back.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I'm
It's
just
coming back though. It's coming
yeah. I'm
back.
charging the
Yeah,
battery
yeah,
up so I can
yeah.
be fully charged. You know, when it's time to go back. You know.
That's what's up. That's
Oh,
what's
yes,
up.
sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
man.
So find that thing your kid is interested in doing and support them in whatever it is.
Right. What
Yeah.
age?
Keep
What
keep
age?
them busy.
What age do you think parents should start explaining the importance of not drinking and just the dangers of and risk of underage drinking?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've spoken to kids as young as second and third grade. And of course, I'm not talking to those young people about marijuana, alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. We're talking about healthy decision making. What is health? What does it feel like? What might it look like? We're talking about stress. What is stress? What causes you to feel? What does it feel like when you become stressed out? When you and how do you deal with that? Who do you go to? Who do you talk to when you're feeling sad? We look at uh, 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 identifying emotions. What does sadness feel like, and how do you deal with it? What does anger feel like and look like, and how do you deal with it? Now, with young people, we do talk about medication safety. Even there are some young kids who are taking medication, and it's important to realize that there are some major health risks to taking someone else's medication or sharing your medication with anyone, or if you miss a dose, taking it upon yourself to just get some support from an adult. The importance of following rules, the importance of reaching out when you need help. Those are the type of conversations that we have with younger kids. Even with older kids, you really kind of, I would say, they start to come into contact with alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs around sixth grade. Young kids are very literal. And it's interesting. I could be talking to some sixth graders about cigarettes, and they're like, "Oh, cigarettes." But by eighth grade, that same young person has a different point of view about vaping.
Mm. Mm.
All right.
Right.
All right. As a sixth grader, very literal. It's like good and bad, right and wrong, black and white. As they get older, there start to be some shades of gray there. Well, are they vaping at a party every once in a while? Do they know their limits? Are they only having one beer? As they get older, their point of view starts to change, and so I think it's important to start early and have conversations often. But it's, what are you talking about? You don't need to talk about marijuana with a fourth grader. You just
Right.
don't have to.
Right.
The likelihood of them coming into contact with marijuana is slim compared to an eighth or ninth grader.
Right. Right. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely depending on their environment. It's funny because that you say that.
Mhm.
When I was teaching fifth grade,
Mhm.
was it fifth grade? No,
Mhm.
it wasn't fifth grade. The kid was in fifth grade. I wasn't teaching fifth grade. I was working at a school, and the fifth grader brung. Oh man, he was trying to sell marijuana. And it was like a big,
Wow.
big bag, right?
He
And
must stole somebody weed.
we could smell it. So we looked in
Yeah.
his book,
Loud.
looked in his book
Mm.
bag. He had
Mhm.
it in there.
Wow.
Call a dad. Dad is
Right,
pissed
right.
off. The dad is
Oh
like
yeah.
furious.
Oh yeah.
He's
Oh
and
yeah.
he's like, I can't believe that. Can't believe he took my weed.
Oh.
That's what he was furious about. Because he tried to sell a big bag of
Uh-huh.
weed for $5. Dad was dad.
He just wanted $5. That's all he wanted. $5.
They locked him up so
Wow.
quick, man.
Oh.
They
Oh
locked
yeah.
it. Yeah, they locked him up. So it's just
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, it's funny that you say that, man.
Yep.
Rodney, let me read this to you. And this
Yeah,
it's funny that I came across this because it's a survey based on it's a survey from the actual people you work for. So
Okay.
and I had this way before, I even, this was just I got this on my own. And
Wow, okay.
it dates back to 2014. So I'm gonna read it right here. It says,
Mhm.
according
Mhm.
to a 2014 survey commissioned by the North Carolina ABC Commission,
Mhm.
almost 2/3, 66% of middle school and high school age children know peers
Mhm.
that have tried alcohol, and it goes on to say, the same survey found that most children try alcohol for the first time at age 14.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Do-
Yep.
Does this
Yep.
indicate I guess does this indicate why we see so much of
Mhm.
it's not an increase because it's actually going down,
Mhm.
but does
Right,
that
right.
is that like a big thing? Is that a big thing that
Mhm.
that will make
Mhm.
kids drink later on in life?
Yeah, yeah. Dre, what we're seeing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, the use of alcohol amongst teenagers, over a period of time, it has declined, and it's continuing to. We're seeing declines, but there are also pockets of use. It depends. It really depends on the region of the country. If you when you look at, um, but that whole idea about the first time use, you'll find some parents feel that, I think that I'm going to teach my kid how to drink. And
Mm.
so I'm going to take all the car keys, and I'm going to have him and his friends over, and for his 16th birthday party, we're going to get them a keg, or get them some beer or whatever. So we're still dealing with that mentality here in the state of North Carolina, but it's been my experience worldwide, not just in North Carolina.
Right.
Um, so I think that's a big piece of why we're still seeing, um, those numbers still at 14. But what's happening is young people are getting more information, where the laws surrounding marketing have changed. So we're not seeing as many commercials, and we're not seeing the type of commercials we saw just 10 years ago. Just, there were, if you think of, your Corona commercial and what it looked like and how frequently you saw it, it was all, what was Budweiser's big thing?
Budweiser was the
Yeah,
big joint. Yes, sir.
huge. Oh, they're the beast when it comes to how much money they
Horses
spend on
running out
marketing.
on the stables and stuff.
The-
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the short films they would have with the
Yeah.
puppy and the Clydesdale, the emotional, right? Get you all emotion into like, oh, it's selling beer.
Yeah.
But it gets you to remember those young people that have a favorable view of that marketing have been shown to have a higher likelihood of having a favorable view about alcohol, especially if there's no conversations. So we're seeing that there are some changes taking place. Dre, I really believe that we're going to see over the next 10 years more decline of alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use amongst teenagers. Why? Because we're having conversations like this.
Right.
We're
And
having conversations like this. The
Right.
laws are changing. Look at tobacco use years ago. Now, Dre, you're kind of young. You probably don't remember, but you used to be able to buy cigarettes in a machine.
I remember. I'm almost 50,
right?
man. I remember.
Well, you remember
Oh,
at
yeah.
the bowling alley.
You
right?
put the money in and then you pull it out. You pull
it
and it drops.
Yep. Right? A whole pack. A fresh pack.
Yeah.
No ID, no nothing. Right? You don't see. You laughing like you know something about that, right?
No, I used to get my mom's cigarettes. I used to like pulling the joint. It was fun. It was like a game. Pull.
Yeah, right. Even they would sell them they would sell them to teenagers. Teenagers would come in. My grandma sent me to get her cigarettes or to get me her beer. And boom, it would be sold. All that's changing now. And as a result of those laws changing, the conversation changing, we're seeing declines in those and numbers of use.
Right.
But it's not just one thing. It's not just pulling the ads. It's not just having conversations. It's a mixture of things that are the laws that are in place. We're seeing that you don't see young people smoking cigarettes anymore. You just almost don't see it. The perception of danger for cigarettes is through the roof. Why? They start telling the truth about cigarettes, that they'll actually kill you. You'll see the ads on TV with the lady with the jacked up face, right? I don't know her, God rest her soul, she passed away. But yeah, you see those horrible commercials. You're seeing the commercials now about vaping, where you're actually inhaling metal particles into your lungs. The truth is being told now, and young people are looking and saying, you know what? Vaping may not be all that cool. Dude, you know what you're actually inhaling?
Right.
I'm trying to make it to Division I. I want to play for Florida State. I want to play for Georgia. I want to play for, I want to move on to the next level academically and athletically. So you know what? I'm going to think twice about putting that stuff into my body. I am so trying to get into schools here in North Carolina and nationwide to share this information, because a lot of young people just aren't getting it like this. They're not getting the reality of it. They're seeing the commercials and hearing the songs.
Right.
And they're seeing their favorite rapper who's got, he's throwing money out the window and he smokes mad weed,
Right.
That what message that say about weed? I can smoke weed and still get rich. Well, maybe not as you think it's going to happen for you. He probably didn't get rich from, smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
He got rich from other ways.
Right.
He became wealthy from other but he still smoked weed. So, I think it's going to take a number of things. These conversations, education of parents, education in schools, billboards, the reality of underage drinking, what actually happens when, what the risks are. Now, I want to make sure I clarify this, Dre. Just because a teenager is drinking or even smoking weed doesn't mean they're going to become an alcoholic or an addict, but it does increase the risk.
Right.
It increase the risk.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this: how should a teen react when someone's forcing them to try alcohol or drink it?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Dre, man. I as a young person, I was kind of swole, so I didn't really have to worry about that too much.
Right.
But I found my peer pressure was more internal. I was driving myself to make those decisions. And I will say this though, I wanted to be just like my older brother. And I didn't see, he was my world. He was my hero. And And I'm thinking, well, if he's doing that, then, I want to be down with him. So I'm going to do it too. Um, it's that whole idea. We really find it. Young people tell me it doesn't happen like that a whole lot, where someone's going to force you. It's very subtle a lot of ways, where there's a keg in the corner at the party, and all it takes is that one kid to grab grab a cup and tap it, and now he's walking around with the cup, and now everyone's watching.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But that whole idea about, either you drink this or we're going to put hands on you. I mean, young people tell me it doesn't really happen like that anymore. It's very subtle.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. We're about to wrap up, man. I want to give you an opportunity to just let everybody know some of the programs, the things that you're involved in. What are you doing? Where can they go for help? I know you're in North Carolina, but if there's anything you guys plan on doing, taking it nationally, or just what do you have going on for underage drinking?
Yeah. Well, in North Carolina, there is the initiative by the governor to reduce underage drinking, and that program is called Talk It Out NC. It's talkitoutnc.org, and feel free to go ahead and log on. There's a ton of information there. If you're in North Carolina, we can come and work with you for free, no charge at all, virtually. We can connect and do presentations. Reach out to me, please. Feel free to reach out to me at rodney.poole@abc.nc.gov. Or can I give my phone number, Dre? What do you think?
Absolutely. I can put it on the web. All of this information is going to go on the website too. So absolutely, feel free. Absolutely.
Okay. Feel free, if you're out of North Carolina, give me a call, 404-909-1436. That's my personal cell. Feel free to call me or hit me up at Rodney rpool437@yahoo.com. I'd be happy to talk with you about ways we can connect and make some things happen, do some presentations, some virtual presentations. I love what I do. This is my career now. I prayed prior to coming on, let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, because I really believe that this is what it's going to take. I've been there, ladies and gentlemen. I've been there, done that, and I got a story to tell about it. And the one thing that I find over and over again when I have talked to students, the one thing that they remember is Mr. Poole's story, on top of what the risks are, but that personal presentation about what happened and what were the results of the decisions that I was making as a teenager, which be honest with you, I'm still kind of dealing with today, actually. What we do today creates our tomorrows. So I'm doing some different things today to have better tomorrows, if you will.
Absolutely.
But feel free to reach out to me with questions. I can connect you with different resources that are available. If you might need a professional evaluation for your young person, I can connect you with that as well. But yeah, don't hesitate. There's nothing. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent or you're a bad kid if you're involved in alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. But if you continue to use without getting some support, this is a disease. Addiction is a disease. Substance use disorder is a disease, but it's treatable.
Right.
But you gotta do some things. You can't just, if you have diabetes, you wouldn't just let it go and just, eat anything you want and not treat it. You would get some help to treat it. If you had heart disease, you would treat it. Addiction is the same way. It has a very clear set of outcomes if treated, as well as if not treated.
Right.
So reach out today. There's no stigma. We're trying to do away with that whole idea about you're weak if you start smoking weed and end up, into harder drugs. And that's kind of the progression. It very frequently starts out with alcohol and marijuana and progresses to other things.
Right. Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And we might have to do another one on another subject.
I'd be happy to, Dre. I'd be happy to. Let me know, man. Let me know.
Yeah. So everybody, I hope you got something out of this. I've gotten some information that, I think was pretty good information. So, being that I work with kids, I can pass some of this information on. So again, brother, I thank you for coming on. Stay on. I'm just going to be out of here, do my intro and get out of here. I just want
Okay.
everybody to know, don't forget about next week. Next week, I got another awesome show. These three ladies are really going to bring it to you, man. It's about forgiveness. And I think that's something that we all need to learn how to do, because, it can consume you. So just make sure you tune in for that next week. And that's going to be it. And again, Rodney, thank you for coming through. See y'all next week. Stay on, Rodney. And we love y'all. Peace. We out.
My pleasure. Peace.
Thank you for watching the Speak Now Hold Your Peace live broadcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and join us on the Speak Now Hold Your Peace Facebook group.